So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to be showing you guys 5 things to consider when signing a player, all right? 5 things to consider before signing a player. 5 things that you should look at, and these are the kind of things that I look at in a player before signing them. So obviously the first thing that I take a look at is the contract, right? So obviously I'm looking at a free agent at the moment, so I think we should do a better example. So I'm just going to type in let's say a striker, and then age, let's say 30, up to 30. Right, so let's take Neymar for example, right? He's definitely way out of our transfer budget at the moment. He's definitely not a player we can sign right now, but if we take a look at his contract, right, for example, the first thing that I take a look at is the player's contract, right? How long the player has left on his contract, right? I take a look at, but usually between 2 to 5 years, because what that does, if a player has about 2 to 5 years left on his contract, you'll usually be paying more for what he's actually worth. But if a player has under 12 months of their contract left, you can sign them on a bargain, right? Usually less for what they're actually worth. So that's obviously the first thing that I take a look at, and I think it's pretty interesting for those of you that don't know. Obviously, you're going to be paying less for a player that has 12 months left on their contract or less. So that's the first thing I take a look at, right? Now, the second thing that I take a look at is the player value, right? That is the second thing that I take a look at is the how much the player is worth. Because obviously now, this kind of links with the player contract now, because you'll find that a player that is worth, let's say, for example, Neymar is worth 87 million. He has 5 months left on his 5 years left on his contract. You'll find that you'll be paying an extra 30 million than what the player is actually worth, right? His net worth is 87 million. And since he has five years left on his contract, you'll be paying an extra 30 million for him, right? So obviously I only have 27 million at the moment, and you must always consider signing someone in the range of your transfer budget. Never sign a player that's way out of your transfer budget, because you won't even be able to place the bid. Now, the third thing that you should take a look at is the age of the player. And I think this is very important, right? You should always take a look at how old the player is. And usually I don't like to sign players older than 30 because they have a very small chance of developing and improving their rating. Whereas younger players between the age of 16 and about 28, 29, that's when they still have the potential to develop their rating. But after that, they kind of go on a decline. So I do recommend signing, younger players on long term. But if you just want to sign a short term player, I recommend just double checking their age in case, let's say they're 32, for example, and you're looking for a younger player that you want in the club for, longer. Then you should definitely take a look at signing a younger player. So that's definitely the third thing that you should take a look at is the player's age, because you'll find that signing older players, they'll be going on a decline. They won't really be improving in any way. Now the fourth thing that you should look at when signing a player, and I think this is very important, is the player attributes, right? You want to take a look at what the best attributes a player has, right? So if we take a look at Neymar's here, for example, right? Obviously, his movement, his dribbling, his control. You want to take a look at all these things, right? Now, the reason why you should do this is because you'll find that certain players' attributes, like let's say, for example, long passing. Let's say you're playing with a system where you're constantly playing diagonal balls, long balls. You want to be using a player that is good at long passing, right? So you should consider signing a player that has a good long passing ability, a good long passing attribute. Neymar doesn't have that. So if I was playing a long ball passing system, Neymar would not fit into that system. So I have no reason for signing him. So you should always consider looking at the attributes to see if that player is able to fit into your system, because you'll find that he won't be performing as well as he would be if you're fitting him into a system which his attributes cannot really link with, if that makes any sense. So you should always take a look at the player's attributes as well before signing them. Now, the fifth and final thing that you should look at is obviously their role, their preferred role, right? So you can see it here on the player card. Now, Neymar's preferred role is a deep lying forward, right? So obviously this is now in a striker position. That is one of the roles that you can choose. Now, this also kind of links to system, the type of system that you use, the type of tactics that you use. You'll find that if you are using a formation and you're using tactics where the striker role is a target man, for example, Neymar won't be able to fit into that system. He'll be able to perform, but he won't perform as well because he won't be playing in his preferred role. So you always want to try and find a player that's suited to your tactics that will be able to play in that role. So that is the fifth thing that I think you should take a look at, and that is the fifth and final thing that you should consider when signing a player. And those are 5 things that I think are really necessary when it comes before signing a player that you should definitely look at, because those are 5 things that I consider, and I always take a look at those 5 things mainly before signing a player, because they can give you some more insight on what the player is actually really about and if they can fit into your system or not.